anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. And that would depend on what you're using it with and how often you're running the machine.
And if you don't use the machine at all, it would just dry out in 2 years.
I go, yeah, like some people. And then finally, a guy, this one sounds a little
Pete
on the loaded side
Pete.
for me, but Pete from St. Pete, how is the CFM rated on downdraft tables? And that I was very interested in. I found out quite a bit about downdraft tables that I didn't know, and especially in this regard. Tables are rated by CFMs, how many CFMs they draw.
Right.
Much like this large
cubic foot per minute.
How many
cubic feet per minute?
How many feet it can suck in?
Yes, like cubics, yes.
Okay. If you have Fred Flintstone feet, that's how many
right.
feet it can suck in a minute.
Yes.
But how many cubic feet of air it can pull a minute? Well, I was surprised to learn that a lot of tables and dust removal systems are rated on what they call free air. And that's system drawn without the use of filters.
Right.
Which would actually give it deceptively high numbers. Well, of course I know you would know that. Personally, I did not. But all of Denry's machines are rated with the filters in place. So the true stat you get from them is actually a performance stat of when the machine is in operation.
So you have to be careful when you do comparisons with other machines with CFM ratings. That's a big difference. And I'm really not actually sure why Dennis would do that, because without that full explanation, somebody may think that his machines handle far less CFM than one that is rated otherwise.
But I think that's a credit to Dennis.
Oh, it is.
One of the
There's
things
no
we learned
doubt.
about Dennis,
But if people don't know it, it's a problem.
Yeah, if you know Dennis, and I doubt Dennis is watching tonight, so I can say this, but Dennis is one of the most painfully honest guys I know.
Yes, painfully.
I mean, yeah, he is. He can be a bit brutal at times.
Yes,
but
great guy.
He'll
Great guy.
tell you pretty much straight up. So anyway, that handles all the questions from last week's shows.
Okay.
I do want to remind everybody that when Oxley, Robert Oxley was here
From ISFA.
from ISFA after the end of the show, and we did the special interview, and hopefully you got a chance
for those of
to
you
see
who don't
that.
know, that's the International Solid Surface Fabricators Association.
The International
International Solid Surface
You can say it
Fabricators
very well.
Association.
Yes.
That's right.
And he said what?
And he said a lot of things.
But what was the big thing he said?
He said that if you join ISFA through us, you'll get a 50% discount.
That's right. If you call ISFA, mention that it was because of All About Tools Live or SpecialtyTools.com,
right.
You will get 50% off your membership dues for the first year. That is incredible, because that takes it from 400 to 200.
Big
That's
savings.
a lot of
Well
money.
worth it. Yep.
That's a lot of money. Leaves you more money to spend with Specialty Tools. But anyway, now that we got all of that hullabaloo out of the way,
What are we doing tonight?
I don't know. What are we doing?
We did templating. We've got our template over there, made out of template
And
material.
that was back probably a month ago, month and a half ago.
Yeah, boy, it just time flies. And I know that Mrs. Weaver would like her countertop done.
Which all you guys, you know what that's like.
That's right.
So we had made this template, and from this template, we're actually going to begin fabricating. So before you throw it up there, let's talk about how we set this up.
Okay, all right. Well, it's already up here now, so let's talk about it anyway.
Okay. One of the fundamental rules to fabrication is you first of all want to have benches that are flat.
That's right.
Danny Homrich has a system where he uses just
Homrich.
simple Homrich. It isn't Homrich?
No, it's Homrich.
Homrich? Okay, well, Homrich, whatever the guy's name
Danny
is.
from Danny Designs.
Yeah, you know who he is. Kind of weird. Spells his name weird anyway. Right. You've got to have a flat surface to fabricate on. The benches that we're going to use are actually...
Not level, but flat.
Flat, that is correct.
That's correct. Everything on the same plane.
I've for years have used aluminum straight edges like this. You can have your benches set up like this, doesn't matter.
Right.
As long as you have one plane.
Right.
Because you want to make the tops flat.
Right.
You want to install them on kitchen cabinets or bathroom cabinets that are also flat. Not
These are
level,
pretty flat.
Pardon me?
That's pretty flat. Look at that.
It is. It'll scare you, wouldn't it?
About a 16th bowl
well,
there.
part of what makes that
good.
happen are these benches. And where do these benches come from?
Actually, originally Penske.
Okay, well, that's more information than we wanted out the door.
Actually, no. I mean, in all fairness, these were designed by Tom Penske at Penske Edge, and it just kind of evolved, and other people were making them, and we're buying them through somebody else now. But they're great stands. It's just kind of a thing that everybody uses.
So tell us about them.
Well, they're called power stands, and I don't know if you're looking at them down here, but they fold up. They have aluminum rails on them that you tighten with wing nuts, and it gives you a nice flat surface to work on.
Can you show us one?
Actually, we can show you right over here. Here we go. This is a power stand. You can put the aluminum on this way. You can flip it out so it's wider if you want. If you're doing an island top, you can clamp onto it easily. You can adjust them up and down to level them. You can shim them at the bottom if you need to, but they're just great sturdy stands to work on.
Well, the thing that I am really amazed about these, and having been a fabricator for many years, is they're very light, they're easy to move around, they're very portable, they're great for either the shop or the field, and they're just absolutely fantastic. I have absolutely nothing but great things to say about these. And I'll tell you, before I actually saw them and have actually worked with them a couple of times, I had a difficult time mentally justifying the cost.
Right.
Now that I've seen them, I think they're actually probably one of the least expensive things you could obtain.
Right.
So we're going to be using these stands, which are very important.
We got a lot to do. Got a lot to do tonight.
What John has done before we did anything else is, after we made sure we have a flat surface to fabricate on, he went ahead and we peeled the peel coat off the sheet of material, and he went ahead and he sanded the whole surface. Now, the reason for doing that is if there's going to be a defect in the material, you really want to find it before you fabricate.
Right.
Because a manufacturer is not going to pay you back for your wasted time and effort. They'll replace the sheet good if it's defective, but they won't replace any of the other costs, such as glue, wasted labor. That's just your problem. You should inspect it first. So we sanded the whole sheet first, checked it over to make sure there were no defects in it, and you found none.
Well,
except
we found
for
one down on that end, but
one
it's not
chip
going
at the end.
to matter to us.
It won't affect the fabrication. And you sanded it the whole top with the V4 sander.
Right. That's the V4 from Australia, and I used a 220 grit sandpaper.
Mm-hmm. The reason for using the large footprint was if you'd done the sanding with just a 6-inch pad sander, you would have been sanding this thing forever. That reduced your sanding time by how much would you estimate?
Well, the manufacturer claims 70%.
And what did you think with your experience?
Oh, at least that. Since I have no experience. But it was great. It was easy to do. No, I mean, it just took a couple minutes. And really, it is important, folks, to look at the sheet, check for defects, because there's nothing worse than getting involved in this, getting the sheet goods cut up, and then find out you've got a problem somewhere to work with.
Yeah, that's very important. But after you've inspected the material, then the next thing you can do is do material layout.
Right.
Because you want to be very efficient with what you purchased. Now, for the most part, you would really do material layout prior to ordering it, because you'd really want to not order any more material than what you have.
Right.
Now, this template still has our information on from when we originally measured it. We know that we're going to be building a 1-inch thick edge on this, which we're going to do a vertical drop edge.
Yes.
And that we'll be doing next week, because obviously we won't have enough time.
And you know, we had a sample of a stacked edge versus a vertical.
Yes,
the reason we decided to go with a vertical edge is because, for one, we want to show how to form it, which we'll be showing as we go, as far as doing radiuses and what have you. And the vertical drop edge makes it easy to run it around and drop it into the rabbet and what have you. Stack method is fine, but for this application, we just decided to go that way.
Okay, you're going to pull a rabbit out of your sleeve next week?
Nope,
okay.
I am not. But we are going to use a rabbit bit, a bit of a rabbit.
There you go. So what we want to do is, and John's being careful about laying out the material here.
I'm looking at this because I learned something new. I always held my countertop in and then sanded everything to fit, but what you told me to do was hold it so that the furthest in point is flush with the back, and then we're going to put a scribe strip on the backsplash.
Exactly.
Yep.
Because the backsplash we want to put on straight. Some fabricators I know bend it to follow the wall, but that's got to make the sanding out process of the cove difficult, because it's dancing in and out, and you're never going to get a real clean line.
It's not going to be perfect, because we've got some sharp little bends here in the wall. Okay.
But if we put a simple scribe piece on the top of the splash where it meets the wall, we can take and we can cut that scribe with either the Raz, which is a tool a grinder made by Festool, or we can use a planer, which makes it fast and simple, and we'll have a really nice finish. So
now, this top we figured out was kind of a pain for layout a little bit, because it just misses. We're going to end up with a little notch here that we're going to have to fill, but we're only going to have one seam in it right here, across this to make the L, and then we'll have a little seam here where the notch is. But other than that, it's not too bad, but it would have been nice if it worked out a little bit differently.
But we're in good shape, though. We'll easily get everything we need out of this sheet for this countertop.
Okay.
We're going to be putting a cove splash on it. It's going to have a flush face edge with just a simple radius top and bottom, 1/8 of an inch radius.
But we're not going to do that all tonight.
No, not all tonight. We have a solid surface bowl, which we have right over on the bench to the side.
Right.
So we're ready to.
So we're going to do
start
material
revving it up.
cut up. We're going to actually cut the materials. We're going to cut out the sinkhole, and we're going to do the seam. And that's probably all we're going to get through tonight.
Yep. So why don't you go ahead and get us a couple spring clamps.
All right.
And we'll go ahead and let's go ahead and roughly position this.
Let's use these new ratchet clamps from Bessie.
Oh,
These
you
are
want to
kinda cool.
ratchet things up?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of neat.
Okay.
They actually ratchet and lock in place. They have a little lever on them. You can see that they just kind of ratchet like that, and then to release them, you just push that and they come out. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, it actually
You get that
takes-
figured
if
out?
you can reach that all the way behind, it actually.
You want me
do
to
that.
reach it behind? I can do that.
Yeah.
Look at the long reach on that baby.
Yeah, that'll scare you.
Okay.
Okay. And typically all we would do, is we'd just take wherever our corners come together, we just make a line. We do that there. This corner here. Where it exits at the back of the sheet, we would do that. Put a line there, and if you want to mark this back line right here.
We're just going to mark this one here, right?
Yep. Well, here we. Yeah.
What do we do here?
That just tucked into the wall. We want to
Okay.
go by that right there.
All right.
Okay. After we've done that, we can go ahead. Now we can release this. Oh, let's get the center line, if you wouldn't mind, real quick. Okay, there we have our bowl center line. Now we can actually take the template and just completely move it away for right now. One of the things we should have done, did we go ahead and figure out this piece that we wanted off of here was how big? 34 inches is going to be more than enough. So we'll just write here so we don't forget that. 34-inch piece. Okay, and that can go out of the way. Then what we can do, very simply, so we can make sure we have lines that stop us from having any problems, we can just take and finish drawing these out. And we'll use a straight edge, making sure that everything remains perfectly straight. Now, on a darker color material, you might not necessarily use a pencil. Whoops. But in this case here, it works well for what we're doing. Now, I'm not going to carry any pencil lines right to where my seam is, because whether you use a pencil, a pen, or whatever, that will actually potentially contaminate the seam.
Okay.
So that would be a problem. And then if you want to take and mark that one out.
I can do it.
Just trying to help you out there because you scare me sometimes. Okay. Now, we really would be ready to cut this out. Because
But we don't want to just cut like this, do we?
No,
Aren't we
you
going to cut the whole
always
length?
want to be very careful about knowing how all your cuts are going to be used.
Okay.
So the off-fall is very important. We know that our seam part is going to come right out of here.
Right.
So what we'll do is we'll carry this cut out. We'll stay a little bit off of this because we want plenty of room to get that piece onto there.
Right.
But we'll make a cut and remove this one long strip.
And out of here, we're going to get the splash and our build-up pieces.
Correct. Build up piece because it's a vertical drop edge we're doing. It's a single
Well,
drop.
but we're going to have more than one piece to get the
certainly.
vertical all the way around. And we're going to heat bend that at a later date.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and go to break. And after the break, we'll get set up. Actually, we'll get set up during the break, and we'll be cutting when we come back, and then we'll move forward from there.